Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience while I was waiting to get started here. I think we've got all of the attendees who registered for today's webinar on the line, so I am not going to wait any longer here to get moving. So a couple of things before I get started. First, of course, thank you for taking time out of your day to join me here today and learn more about the changes and things that have been happening at BedandBreakfast.com. If you have attended a webinar before, you're probably familiar with the process. Everyone is muted on the call today, but certainly I would love for you to share questions as we go along. There's a little panel on your screen there that is a way for you to submit questions. I will take them as we go along, and then I'll also leave some time for some Q&A at the end as well. With a lot of the questions that have been showing up on message boards and things that have come into me directly, I wanted to include a couple of handouts on here for you today. One is you'll see the map of the market managers at BedandBreakfast.com, so I'll be referencing those as we go along. And the other is also an FAQ that we created and shared out with some partners as well. So you can access both of those. I am recording the webinar today, and I'll share that with you as well after the session, and then also we'll be sharing the deck with you here. So if you're not able to take notes as we go along, you'll be able to get all of this information after we go through it. So part of what I wanted to share with you first before we go into the changes that have been recently discussed is our mission at BedandBreakfast.com, and also talking about some of the things that we've been working on that have been overshadowed by, some of the recent announcements. So this deck that I'm presenting to you today, I actually presented at the Virginia Bed and Breakfast Association meeting about 3 weeks ago, and it was so helpful to be there in front of innkeepers and being able to share the messaging in person. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to do this here for all of you today. So one of the things that I like to remind properties of whenever we're talking about change with BBCOM is that, we've been around for 22 years. And for some of you, you've been members for that long. You've been around for all of the years. And our mission from when we started to where we sit today has always been the same. And it's part of the reason why we've been able to stay in business through, the bust of, the internet and all the changes that have happened over the years, and that we're still around. And that's because our main mission has and always will be to provide reservations for properties who work with us the easiest way possible and the most cost effective. So that's part of what we're going to talk about today. Of course, as we all know, the evolution of travel is something that we are a part of actively and always continue to need to be. And it's part of the reason why we've been around as long as we have, because as we've, seen the industry change and we've seen traveler behavior change, we've been able to adjust with that and been able to provide the tools that innkeepers need and travelers are looking for. So for those of you who I have met before over my 15 years of working with innkeepers, a lot of you may know me, but for those of you who don't, my name's Janice Hurley, and I have been working with BedandBreakfast.com. I started back in 2002, and when I was with the company back then, I was the director of sales and worked actually within the New England region, worked with innkeepers, and then always really just wanted to be like you. I wanted to be out there and working at an inn, and I had the opportunity to do that in 2012 to 2014. I went and ran the Inn at the Round Barn up in Waitsfield, Vermont, and it was amazing to be able to do that. And so I have a pretty unique perspective both from this side of the industry and being at the inn as well. So after I left the Round Barn, I was there for 2 years to help it sell, and BedandBreakfast.com asked me to come back. And a big reason why I chose to do that, I had offers to go and run other inns and to do other things, but I really felt like I could make the biggest impact by coming back to BBCOM at that time. So what I asked was for the position when I came back was to be the head of industry relations. So now my primary responsibility is really to be the bridge between what's happening in the industry and what we're doing internally here at the business. So you may have seen me at some conferences, but that's why I'm here today, to share this information with you. So a couple of things that I wanted to start with, and I'm really going to try and stick to this hour time slot that we have. I want to talk a little bit about the structure of the business and how this has changed over the last couple of years. For those of you who've been members of ours and have used RezOvation and BedandBreakfast.com for years, has always really remembered us as both the same company. And really, after the acquisition of HomeAway, which is about 6-7 years ago now, RezOvation was really under the HomeAway group and was working more closely with their HomeAway software for professionals team. So even externally, where a lot of innkeepers still thought of us as one business, Rezo was really working among some other teams here within the overall business. So over the last couple years, we've really brought both of the businesses back together, and it's been great both from a product perspective, but also on the member side of it, to be able to have one group who really understands both sides of the business that we're working on. In addition to that, a lot of the properties who've been with us over the years remembers having one point of contact at BedandBreakfast.com to reach out to. And this is something that a lot of you loved having, to be able to reach out to one person. I was the market manager for New England for several years before I, worked with the sales team overall. And we got away from that structure. And that was a lot of the feedback that I heard when I first came back in 2012 from properties, was that, in 2014, was that, they didn't have one person they could talk to because they were calling in and working with more of a call center. So I think one of the greatest things that's been improved over the last year is that we have gone back to that market management structure. And that's what I referred to at the beginning of the call, and I'm going to show you who your market managers are. And this is great because, I'm sure you should have received emails from them. I know I've seen several that have gone out with the changes and coming direct from your market manager. If you don't have their contact information, I'm going to share that with you. But absolutely, please feel free to reach out to them directly. They might not have all the answers, but they can certainly connect you with the folks who can help. In addition to that, and in the spirit of getting more feedback from innkeepers and members in the industry, we also launched a new beta group that works directly with RezOvation. And what's fantastic about that is, as we're working on improvements and changes for the RezOvation software, we're actually working with innkeepers who are using the product within their properties to provide feedback for us as we're continuing to grow and expand the RezOvation software. So for any of you who are on the call today, I know we have folks from all different parts of the country. These are the market managers, and these are the different regions that they manage. So if you haven't heard from them directly, again, you can refer to this, and I'll be sharing this out as well as you have it in your handout. So if you have specific questions that you want to talk to after, certainly we can have you connect with them. I'm also going to be reaching out to them and asking them to connect with you as well to answer any additional questions after the session today. So a couple of things I wanted to mention, specifically because I've seen some feedback on some forums lately about questioning whether BedandBreakfast.com, because of these changes, is going to continue to do the work that it always has done, and elevating B&Bs and our segment of the travel industry, and introducing us to new travelers and continuing to do all that work. And the answer is absolutely yes. A big part of what I do is I attend pretty much every state, regional, local B&B conference or meeting. So if you're wondering if we're going to be in an area that's close to you, there's a link here at the bottom of this page that will show you where we're going to be for upcoming events. Of course, attending all of the regular, conferences that are planned, but in addition to that, we are happy to reach out and come to markets to host a member appreciation lunch. That's something I'm actually doing tomorrow in Fredericksburg, Texas. There was a lot of innkeepers who had questions in that area. Certainly being in Austin, easy for us to just hop over within a couple weeks' time to host this, but certainly I'm open to visiting any market. So if you're in a market that you feel, it would be great to get a group of innkeepers together, certainly email me, let me know, and I'm happy to be able to facilitate that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about connectivity to partner sites and sort of lay the foundation for some of the changes that we're going to talk about. So a lot of properties may or may not be familiar with the fact that, we've been connected to Expedia. BedandBreakfast.com has since 2006. So I've been around for a lot of these changes that we've gone through just as a business. I remember when we first connected to Expedia. I remember when we first launched our reviews program and how innkeepers, were upset by it and didn't understand how we could have a reviews program when we were charging for, subscription. And what we realized, of course, as time went on, was that we need reviews so that we can convert more reservations for properties. So, I've seen a lot of the changes and I've been through this, and I just want you all to understand that I understand that change is hard. And my goal is to make sure that I provide as much information for you so that you understand that you're making the best business decision for your property. So in doing that and having the opportunity to be a part of the Expedia family, some properties aren't aware that after BedandBreakfast.com was acquired by HomeAway about 6 years ago, Expedia actually purchased HomeAway 2 years ago this December. So even though BedandBreakfast.com has been working with Expedia for all these years, now we're actually officially part of their business. And what's great about that, and I think this often gets overlooked by a lot of properties, and I think it's just because a lot of properties aren't aware, but BedandBreakfast.com and where we are, we're able to be the voice for innkeepers within the Expedia organization. So a big initiative that we worked on over since we've been acquired was going to the different Expedia offices and really educating their market managers on who we are as an industry, sharing the differences between innkeepers and revenue managers that they might work with at a larger hotel, and how innkeepers really are everything for their property, and really sharing with them why we need to continue to do business the way that we've been doing, and just sharing why some things are just different from what they might have been used to with working with larger properties. And our whole message when we're there is, let us, BedandBreakfast.com, help you, Expedia, help them, the innkeepers. And what's great about this is it's really resonated with a lot of the conversations that we've had and with some of the product changes that we've seen as well. And one of the stories that I like to share is when we were down in New Orleans hosting a hosting an innkeeper appreciation lunch. We shared some of this information with our innkeepers. Then we went to the Expedia office and shared with their team as well. And we had a property call us when we got back to the office and said that I want to be on Expedia, but I don't want to work with Expedia. And that's what's great, is properties can still get that exposure, but they can work with a smaller team through BedandBreakfast.com to get that. So one of the things that I like to highlight, because for those of you who either haven't been using online booking over the last several years, you may have been introduced to it when we initially launched it back in 2006, and you might just have these memories of extremely high commissions at 30% when we first launched. You didn't get the guest contact information. It wasn't really friendly to our industry as far as the guest information that you were getting. But times have really changed from where we sit today. OTAs, no longer dictate the terms for you to follow minimum inventory requirements. And what I mean about that is that you're in control more today than you ever have been, which means if you have rooms that you need to protect, you don't have to share them to participate in the online reservations program. And what I mean by that, I think a great example that I like to use is when I was at the Round Barn. We had a wedding business, so I had to protect my weekend inventory because I couldn't risk selling one room and then possibly losing an entire wedding because I didn't have the whole house to sell to the couple that was interested in hosting a wedding. So during my wedding season, I really had to protect those weekends. So I would block out my weekends during that wedding season, and then when I got closer to those weekends and I knew that I wasn't going to sell a wedding, then I would open them up to the OTAs. But what I would do very comfortably is open my Sunday through Thursday inventory, because I knew the wider net that I could cast, the bigger chance I would have at making some of those bookings. So two things that are keys to participating in online reservations through BedandBreakfast.com and through partners is inventory parity and rate parity. And I've seen some of these questions come up on the message boards as well, so I want to just be clear about what these two things mean. Inventory parity means that if you have a room that you're offering, say, to Booking.com, that you offer that same room to Expedia and BedandBreakfast.com. So if you're offering it to a third party, you offer it on all of them. Rate parity is an important one, because that means that you're selling your room at the same rate on all of the online channels that you are showing your inventory. One of the things that I like to call out, because it's really important, is that when you get a reservation through BedandBreakfast.com, through HomeAway, which we're going to talk about in a minute, through Expedia, through Hotels.com, through Travelocity, through any of the sites that we use, we provide you with the guest email, phone number, and of course name. And this is a great opportunity, and I highly recommend that you do this. When we at the Roundboard would receive a third-party reservation, so a partner reservation that came through, we would contact personally all of those guests. We would give them a call, and it was to get any additional contact information that we didn't get with the reservation, so to fill in their mailing address, to find out when they were going to be arriving, because maybe they didn't fill that part out when they were booking the reservation, find out about dietary restrictions, and then also have the opportunity to sell them on any of our packages or add-ons. And what I recommend for properties who are using online booking through us is that you also create in your property management software a template email that's specific for guests who book through these other channels outside of your website, so that you can do all the things that I just mentioned. And reach out to your property management software, and they can certainly help you facilitate that. In addition to that, we have lower commissions than we've ever had. So properties can start at 15% commission, and that goes up to 18% in the year after they join. Our commission rates include credit card fees. So it's really important, going back to that, getting the reservation for properties being in our mission, doing it the easiest way possible and at the most cost effective. Make sure you really understand all of your costs that are involved. Because sometimes if you're connecting to the site directly and you're paying commission, you might also be paying a credit card fee. So that's why I always recommend connecting with your market manager so they can look at how you're currently connecting and make sure that you're getting the best rates that you can. So one of the things that's changed quite a bit over the last couple of years as well is that, years ago, if you wanted to have a seamless connection for your property management software, which means you wanted to sell a room on BedandBreakfast.com, and if a room sold on BBCOM, that it would automatically update into your property management software and also update the booking engine on your website, you could only do that on RezOvation and RezOvations. And that story's changed. And what I love about this is it shows how we really, again, want to make it as easy as possible for properties to sell their rooms online, and giving them the choice to use the property management software that they work with, and not say you have to use the software that we provide. So over the last couple years, we've established connections to Think Reservations, also to My Allocator, which connects with ResNexus, ResStream, Odysseus, and several others. So definitely let us know if you're working with a property management software that we don't currently link to, because we are working on establishing additional connectivity, and would love to hear from you if there's someone that we don't currently connect to. In addition to that, we also connect to Booking.com, and this is something that a lot of properties don't think of because we are owned by Expedia, and of course Booking.com is looked at as a competitor, but this again goes into the spirit of making it as easy as possible for properties to sell their rooms on multiple channels but only have to work with one connection. So just to give you an idea of some of the data from the bookings that we received in 2016, we paid out over $68 million to innkeepers in the industry for bookings that happened on BedandBreakfast.com and partner sites. So when you think about this and you think about the money that goes into the bank and the significance of this, it's a pretty astonishing amount of reservations with over 1 million room nights that were provided in 2016. So as we continue to shift and we continue to evolve into this new travel space of online booking, you know, those numbers are only going to continue to grow that we're going to be able to track. What does it mean for your area? Because we have folks on the line from all different parts of the country, again, this is something that your market manager can get you some details on. But just to give you an idea, when I presented in Virginia, I was able to show them that bookings that happened on BedandBreakfast.com, how they were up year over year, and just show them some of the room revenue and the room nights that happened in that region. So certainly if you're interested in what's happening in your region, let us know and we're happy to get that data for you. So some other highlights of things that are happening is that in August of 2017, we started to connect to the HomeAway network. And the reason why this is so important and so significant is that for the last several years, at every conference that I've attended, the conversation around short-term rentals and how they're impacting the B&B world, it's been an ongoing conversation. And part of this, you know, when we talk about it is how do we have a fair playing field, and how do we get to be able to connect with some of these travelers who are looking at short-term rentals as an option, and how do we do it and show them that we are professionally run bed and breakfast. So just to give you an idea of who the HomeAway traveler is versus the BedandBreakfast.com traveler, certainly HomeAway travelers stay for a much longer stay, average of 14 days. I'm not saying with this connection your average stay is going to go from what is normally 2 nights up to 14, but it just gives you an idea of the exposure to the traveler and what this means for potential bookings in the future. So when we first got acquired by HomeAway all those years ago, we actually sold listings on their site for $1. And innkeepers, you know, I explained to the team, you know, this sounds great. Yeah, you can get a listing for $1, but innkeepers aren't going to like it. Because at that time, we didn't have the ability to sell your property as having multiple rooms. So when a traveler would go onto HomeAway or VRBO, they would see one listing with the same price, and that was confusing both to the traveler and frustrating for the innkeeper to get someone who thought they were going to get the whole place for the rate of one room. So the reason why it was perfect for us to be able to launch connectivity from BedandBreakfast.com to HomeAway in August of this year is because for the first time ever, we could do this with multi-unit listings. So what this means is that now if you're selling your rooms through BedandBreakfast.com, we automatically will feed them over to HomeAway, VRBO, and all of their U.S. sites. Your listing is just like what it looks like on BedandBreakfast.com with your main property listing and then each of your rooms listed individually, so the traveler really understands what they're receiving when they book your property. In the title, we add bed and breakfast in the title, so it's very clear that they're booking a B&B and not a vacation rental. It seamlessly connects, of course, to BedandBreakfast.com and to your property management software, so you don't have to worry about double bookings. And I think one of the best things is that we also include on all of these listings that are fed over to HomeAway the BedandBreakfast.com logo. So that shows to travelers that you are professionally run bed and breakfast. You didn't just sign yourself up for something and click a checkbox and instantly became a B&B, that you are professionally run, and it makes a difference in the conversion. So In addition to that, for any properties who are Diamond Collection members of BBCOM, you also get additional distribution out to the HomeAway Luxury Collection site, which is just, again, another way to reach a whole group of travelers that may not have thought of staying at a B&B previously. So why it's great, I mentioned reaching a whole new set of travelers. That's over 65 million travelers that are exposed to B&Bs a month over the HomeAway network. The commissions are exactly the same as what you would pay on BedandBreakfast.com. So there's not the additional commission. It's whatever rate that you had signed up with us for. So if you're switching to the PPB model, it would be the 15% for the first year and then 18% thereafter. So how it works, so BedandBreakfast.com members that are signed up for the instant booking will automatically feed over to HomeAway, VRBO, VacationRentals.com, and the other sites, and then that reservation, when it happens on those other platforms, if you're connected to property management software through us, it will automatically update into your PMS and also onto your booking engine as well. So just to give you an idea of reach, and again, bringing it back to revenue and what goes into properties' bank accounts, is in the first 3 months that we launched this, over $250,000 in revenue was paid out to B&Bs, and that's actual bookings that happened on the HomeAway sites that went to BedandBreakfast.com members. So there's a ton of potential, and what I love about this is, again, reaching out to those vacation rental travelers who may not have thought of staying at a B&B. Maybe they didn't think to come to BedandBreakfast.com. Now they're getting exposure to all of the amazing properties that you all are through this additional channel of HomeAway. So what's next? The distribution will continue to expand out to the international sites that HomeAway has, which is fantastic. So opening up to a whole new set of international travelers that you'll be able to book through this channel. So properties have asked me if you are currently using the online reservations program. You probably have seen some of these announcements. You might be wondering if you have gone onto HomeAway, you don't see your listing. These are the content requirements in order for us to feed you over to that site. And just some top FAQs for you as well that have come up. So if you can't find your property, how you can find that. And again, you can work with your market manager as well, and they can help show you where you're listed. And if you're not, how we can make sure that you get that additional distribution. So with all these changes and with some of the new product announcements, I think one of the most important things for us to do, not only as a business, but for us to do as an industry, is to continue to get as much data as possible, not only on the BedandBreakfast.com traveler, of course, we want to know that for ourselves, but we really need to gain more knowledge about the overall traveler and how that's continuing to change, especially as we are participating in this evolution of travel. So a couple of things. BedandBreakfast.com, of course, has done surveys since the recession hit all those years ago. And the big reason why we did that is because we wanted to make sure we kept a pulse on what travelers were wanting and what innkeepers were providing and where we were going as an industry. So we have a pretty good sense of who the traveler is that comes to BedandBreakfast.com. I encourage everyone who is on the call today to participate in the upcoming survey that will be launching at the end of October so we can continue to get that data. But it's not just about knowing who the traveler is that BedandBreakfast.com is providing, but it's understanding overall as an industry how we're impacted by short-term rentals, which this is a study that Focusrite did for HomeAway about vacation rentals. We have insight into Expedia as well. So it's really combining the data that we have from HomeAway, the data we can get from Expedia, and then combining it with something that I'm extremely excited about, and that's we partnered, BedandBreakfast.com, AIHP, and HomeAway have partnered with Focusrite to create the first B&B industry study that is specific to understanding more about our market sizing, what's happening with the traveler who isn't choosing a B&B, so not the BedandBreakfast.com traveler who we know loves B&Bs and that's why they come to our site to book, but really getting an understanding of where we're heading as an industry. So this is something that has been in the works for the last couple months. Focusrite has been working on this study with us, and we're going to be able to release, Focusrite will be sharing the data at the end of the year is what we're aiming for. So it's going to be really interesting to see some of the results from that study. So we know who the travelers are, we know, and we soon will know who the travelers aren't who are choosing B&Bs, but something that we need to continue to do and will continue to do as a business is to promote the B&B experience. So, how will we do that? With BedandBreakfast.com, and this is something that I've seen on the message boards that I mentioned earlier about properties wondering, will we continue to support the industry? And we have more of a vested interest today than we ever have to continue to do that. Of course, it's something that we always have done, but we have to be able to continue to bring B&Bs to the forefront of travelers and to be able to get them to understand why they should choose a B&B. Yes, we understand that 95% of the travelers who come to our site come because of Innkeeper interaction. We know that they've stayed at a B&B at least once in the last year. But what we're going for, and I put Anderson Cooper here for a reason, is because Anderson Cooper is known to not love B&Bs. So he's really the next target on my list. And when I think about him, I think about those travelers who've never stayed at a B&B, who just don't understand what the B&B experience is. So as a business, our opportunity is to be that leading voice to help repopularize staying at B&Bs and to help reach out to the travelers who might not have thought of it before. And we're in a position to do that more than we've ever been with the support of HomeAway and the support of Expedia and being able to reach out and really share what B&Bs are all about. So some of the ways that we're currently doing that, working on a content program that we've been working on for the last couple of years. So you may have heard of this. I'm going to share something. If you haven't seen it, you definitely need to let me know. But content that showcases our members. So we have articles that we write not just about the destination, but about the properties that make up the destination and all of you that are out there. We've also partnered with Marty Main, who, for those of you who know Marty, she has been a pillar in our industry for the last 15 years. She's an incredible resource for PR and for marketing within the industry. And Marty is working with us for monthly webinars that we're hosting, so you should be getting those invites. And then she's also helping us with content pieces and to help really spread that word out amongst the travelers. And when we look back at 2016 and we see, yes, we had 19 million media impressions for B&Bs, we only want to exceed that in 2017. So I'm excited to be able to share this data with you as we get closer towards the end of the year here, and we can understand what kind of an impact we had over the last year as well. So for properties, ask me all the time, how do I get included in those content pieces? And the best way to do that is we send out media alerts. I know one just went out last week asking properties if they have a haunted B&B and they wanted to be included in some press releases. If you're not getting these emails from us, it's probably because you got tired of getting a hot deals reminder or something else and you opted out of the emails. If that happened, let us know. We can get you added back in, and we would love to include you in some of these content pieces. In addition to the content leadership strategy and working with Marty, we are working with different state destination marketing organizations, different chambers, and this program, our ad program and our sweepstakes programs have come into the BedandBreakfast.com product offering because when we would go to state conferences and we would hear different folks from the state, talking about this is what we're doing to bring travelers to our state, innkeepers would inevitably say, okay, this is great, but what about bringing more business to B&Bs? So starting last year, we started to build this program where we are now working directly with DMOs and chambers and CVBs and really giving them an opportunity to use some of those tax dollars that you're spending in your states to market and retarget directly to B&B travelers. What's great about this, we started with the state of Vermont. We've been bringing for that particular state, over 2 million travelers had seen this, the sweepstakes that we had been running with them. We were really conscious in working with them about highlighting all of the different regions that are in the area. I just saw a property that mentioned that they're in Mexico, and there are things that we can also share that we're doing for international exposure as well. So I'll be sure to reach out to you as well. And let me go back here. In addition to that, we have been hosting the International Bed and Breakfast Month. This is something that started last year, and this was really born from the fact that every time you go onto Facebook, you see that we're celebrating something else. It's National Ice Cream Day, it's Best Friends Day, and we thought, you know, what about Inns and B&Bs? So we started International B&B Month last October. This is the second annual that we're running now through several campaigns through travelers and really helping spread the word about B&B. So once International, that's clapping that you hear there, once International B&B Month is finished for 2017, we'll be sharing the results of that and the reach that we were actually able to achieve. We also work with the Wheel of Fortune, and this is something that some properties are aware of. We just sent out in our monthly Innkeeper newsletter asking for properties who wanted to participate. We got some great feedback from properties on that. This is a great opportunity. If you have video of your property and you want to be considered to be shown on the Wheel of Fortune, all you have to do is send me an email and let me know. And I can work with you on creating a prize package. And I have a library of properties. And the way that it works is when the show is getting ready for a taping season, they have different themes. And they also have, of course, contestants from different areas of the country. So we work together to put in properties who fit with the theme and also aren't from the same place that the contestants are from, because, you know, if you're from Massachusetts and you want to stay in Massachusetts, they like it to be something that's a little bit further away. So, and again, there's no charge to participate in something like this. The only thing that the property commits to is a 6-night, 7-day stay if there is a winner, and it's a great way to get some huge exposure at a very low cost. So, for anybody who's using RezOvation, I know there are a couple of you on the call. I wanted to just highlight a few things that are happening that are really exciting over on the RezOvation side of things. For anyone who's using RezOvation GT, that's the desktop software that we had. We're actually going to be retiring that software at the end of the year. And a big reason for that is because we've been heavily investing in our cloud-based software, which is RezOvation Web. So for anybody who was using Web previously, it was originally built on Silverlight, which made it challenging for properties to log in. So now we are going to be launching the new RezOvation Web that's going to be happening at the end of October, so we'll have more details on that. To give you an idea, we have over 2,100 properties that use RezOvation Web. It's up significantly from properties who used it at the beginning of the year. And that's due in part to a lot of the education that we've been providing through HomeAway Software University and working with our support team with RezOvation. So to give you an idea of how many travelers booked through the software in 2017, over 2 million, over 4 million room nights, which is significant. So this is properties who booked room nights directly through their booking engine who use the software. The reason why I'm mentioning it as well is because for anyone who is using BedandBreakfast.com online reservations and who's making the switch over to do that, if you aren't using a property management software, you're looking to use one, you do have the opportunity to get RezOvation at no charge if you are using BedandBreakfast.com online reservations, which is a pretty fantastic offer, and especially because, you know, a lot of properties, again, taking on that additional cost of property management software, this is a great way for you to have that connectivity without incurring the additional fees. So, and highlighting some of the changes that have happened just around BedandBreakfast.com and the membership and how we've been doing business for the last 22 years and sort of where we're headed. the biggest change, and what a lot of properties have been talking about over the last few weeks, and what all of you are looking at coming up on your renewal, is that we are no longer going to be just a directory business. So what that means is, for over the years, we've had multiple ways that guests could book reservations from our site, from clicking out to the property website, to booking on BedandBreakfast.com, to going to an availability calendar. And everything that we've seen from our side of it and from what travelers are looking for is to have that place that they're making their booking. So as we shift BedandBreakfast.com from a subscription business into an instant booking platform, these are what the changes that have been recently communicated with you. So what does that mean? That means upon your renewal, you will have the opportunity to switch over to a commission-only structure. So we're no longer having annual subscriptions where you pay the flat rate for the entire year plus commissions. It will only be commissions moving forward. And that means, no annual fees, like I mentioned, also no contracts, so no annual commitment, which is what we had for all these years. You had to sign up for a year and then you were tied into that year commitment. You won't have that any longer. Easy to manage, of course, your rates and availability through your property management software, and also, working with your market manager to really find out what works best for your property when you're making these decisions and changes. One thing I wanted to mention for the properties who are on about the Diamond Collection, there was questions of whether or not that program was going away, and the answer is no, absolutely not. The Diamond Collection has grown to over 500 properties over the last 5 years, so we did stop accepting new properties into the Diamond Collection. For anyone who's currently a Diamond Collection member, you will be able to maintain your branding on your listing, and that will continue to move forward as it has been. I included some of these top FAQs in here just so you could read through them, and I also attached a document here that you can go through later as well. So I don't want to spend too much time on the FAQs because I want to get to some actual questions that came up. Some other things I wanted to highlight before we go to questions is changes on the gift card program. So as of September 2017, we are no longer selling gift cards on BedandBreakfast.com. And we've gotten a lot of feedback about this program over the years. And one of the things that a lot of properties have pointed out is, when we originally launched it, this program was meant to bring new business to travelers. And a lot of properties felt that it turned into a discount program because we were discounting gift cards and selling them. So there's going to be some additional changes and some communication coming out over the next couple weeks that I think a lot of properties are going to be excited about, specifically about the gift cards. But one of the things I wanted to share now is that there are still millions of gift cards that are in circulation. So if a traveler wants to redeem a gift card at your property, they absolutely still can if you're part of the program. You can still accept it through your home base. But it's also important to know that guests can redeem gift cards through the online booking channel on BedandBreakfast.com. So they can come in, they can redeem it through that. There's not double commission for that. When a guest redeems the gift card through BedandBreakfast.com through the Online Reservations cart, the property is only paying commission for the reservation. They're not paying, in addition to that, the commission for the gift card. So just wanted to highlight that. It's important to understand that. With all of these changes, we know that a lot of you work with different marketing companies in the industry, and we've really made an effort over the last couple of weeks to reach out to all those partners. We hosted a partner webinar that we did last week to educate all of the partners on the changes. So if you are reaching out to your marketing channels or your associations that you work with, they should have the most up-to-date information about the changes that are happening. So I just wanted to include on these slides really what we communicated out with the partners so that you could see that as well. It really talks about the things that we just talked about here in this webinar, but I just wanted to be clear with all of you of what we were communicating out on the partner side of it. So one of the questions, a few of the questions that have come up, and I'm sure it's probably a question that's waiting for me here after we go through the additional slides, is questions around taxes. So I have reached out to the person who handles this for BedandBreakfast.com that's here on our team. We are putting together more FAQs around how taxes work and how payments work for the online reservations that happen on our site. And I want to be clear that for anybody who has been using online bookings through BedandBreakfast.com, that part hasn't changed. So if you've been using our online reservations program, it's exactly the same as it has been. The change is that you're no longer paying for the subscription and you don't have that link out to your website. So those are the two biggest changes. But the way that the actual online booking program works is exactly the way that it has been. For those of you who haven't been using it, who aren't as familiar with it, that's where more of the tax questions are coming up. So I just wanted to highlight here, specifically the first question that's been coming up a lot is if BedandBreakfast.com remits tax payments to local offices, and we don't. And the reason why we don't is because we actually pay you directly for the tax rate that you put into the system when you set up your online bookings. So BedandBreakfast.com collects tax on the net rate of that reservation. We pass that on to you in the payment process, and so it's important that you work, with your tax advisor or your accountant on how you pay out your taxes accordingly, depending on where you're located. As I mentioned, of course, we're hosting this webinar because you're coming up for your renewal in the next 60 days. We do have other webinars that we're hosting for members that'll be coming up throughout the year that are specifically about these changes. So if there's one that you wanted to attend in the future, you certainly could. So I wanted to just close out with a little bit about tracking your performance and understanding where your reservations are coming from. Over the years, there have been different reports of travelers going to 22 sites before they made a booking decision, and we've really seen that shift over the last couple years. There's questions from properties, will I continue to get direct bookings on my website if I don't have a link from BedandBreakfast.com? And the reason why I included this is a recent article that was put out by Expedia Partner Central that talks specifically about the billboard effect and talks about properties getting bookings directly because they're listed out on other sites. So I think it's important just to understand, you'll be able to see the reservations that you're getting through BedandBreakfast.com directly because they're actual bookings that are happening on our site. For anything that happens on your website, you want to make sure that you have Google Analytics set up so that you could understand where you're getting business from other channels. Because the number of sites that travelers are going to before they make a booking decision has gotten smaller, so it's gone from 22 sites down to 4, and this is something that was reported by Fuel Marketing last November. It means it's more important than ever for you to understand where travelers are going before they're choosing to book with you. So again, reaching out to your market manager, understanding where the value is from BedandBreakfast.com and how we send bookings to you is really crucial through this whole transition. And having that data and understanding it is going to give you the opportunity to focus on the 20% of the sources that should be producing 80% of your results. And this is something that we have always stood by, and making sure that properties are really clear on that. One of the things that I want to just highlight so that everyone understands is this is traveler data that came from our most recent traveler survey. And we asked the travelers who come to BedandBreakfast.com how they prefer to book, if they prefer to speak to the Innkeeper first or just reserve online. And I'm excited to be able to get the results back from our survey that we're doing in October, because just my experience in the industry, I don't think we'll come to a time where travelers never want to talk to an Innkeeper, because we understand that the experience that you offer is so unique, and travelers are going to have questions, and they're going to find your phone number and they're going to call you. Whether or not it's listed on your BedandBreakfast.com listing or not, they're going to Google you, they're going to find you, they're going to have questions. But I think what's really important when you look at this slide is this is broken out, of course, by age group, so 25 to 34. So we've got the millennials, in the middle we've got the Gen X, Gen Ys, and of course the baby boomers with the older generations. That orange part shows how the travelers that want to only speak with the innkeeper. So they only want to speak with you and they only want to book with you over the phone. Of course, that's much smaller with the younger demographics because they want to book online. But the significant part of this, and what you see consistently throughout, is that over 90% of travelers want to book online. There's still a percentage, that dark blue part of the circle, that they want to call you first and get more information, but then they want to book online. And the reason why I wanted to share this is because, I've had innkeepers asking me, well, will travelers still book with me directly if my link isn't on BedandBreakfast.com? And the example that I've been using, because this is something that would happen to me quite often when I was at the Round Barn, and I'm sure it's happened to all of you, is when a guest calls and they say, okay, I'm on your website, I want to make a reservation, but I've got a few questions. So then you say, okay, if you're on our website, okay, do you see the rooms tab? And they say, no, I don't see that. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, do you see the About Us tab? Or no, I don't see that either. Well, it turns out they think that they think that they're on your website, but they are on Expedia or they're on another website. And those websites don't have your phone number either, but somehow, magically, they found your phone number to call you. So I just want to keep it in perspective for all of you and just, let you to think about, how travelers are finding you and that they will still be able to find you to call you. There is a company, I've seen this presented, and I've heard different feedback from different folks. If you aren't familiar with how many guests are calling you, you can set up, this is a company called CallRail. I think there's a few others out there. I don't work for them or get paid by them, but I have seen other properties who've used it. I've heard some feedback because the way that they do it is they put a unique phone number on some of your different marketing channels so that you can track it. I know this can affect your Google placement if you have a different phone number. I've heard from some marketers. They do have ways that you can use your same phone number. So the reason why I share it is because it's a great way if you wanted to test for a month or so to see what phone calls you're getting and be able to record them. It's just an option for you. So we did have some questions that came in as I was presenting, so I want to be able to answer those for all of you as we go through. So one of the questions was, who do we contact to be added to media alerts and to participate in everything? That is a great question. So if you aren't currently getting the emails about media alerts and being included in content articles, as I mentioned, you may have opted out of our email, or we might not have the updated email address for you. So you can always just shoot me an email here at Janice@BedandBreakfast.com. Let me know you're not receiving those, and I'll reach out to the marketing team to be sure that you do get included in that. There was also a question, where can we download materials for International B&B Month? So we did send out a communication to all of our members when the B&B month launched at the beginning of October. So if you didn't get that, you could have opted out. So I'll be sure that everyone on the call today, as I send out the follow-up with the additional attachments, I'll make sure that you do get the update for B&B month as well. And I'll send out the recent media alerts so you have those too. Another question that came in was around the commission for VRBO and HomeAway. And so just to clarify on that, the commission is the same. So if a guest books on BedandBreakfast.com, or they book on VRBO, or they book on HomeAway, the commission is the same. It's that 15% for the first year and then 18% after that. And again, that includes the credit card fees. And that's the same for our partner sites. Some of you have already been connected to Expedia and our other partners, so you might already be at that 18% because you've been on it for over a year. So that's why I recommend talking to your market manager, reaching out, finding what you're currently paying, and then seeing if there's any ways that we can help save on some of that commission. So I think we've got just about a minute left here within our hour. If there's any other questions that have come in, I'm happy to answer them. It looks like we don't have any just yet. So Again, if there's something that comes up after we're done here today, if you want to reach out to me directly, please feel free to do so. I'm happy to help in any capacity that I can, and certainly reaching out to your market managers to talk about your listing as well. So I think we're hitting the 1 hour mark here, and again, I just wanted to thank everyone for taking the time out of your day to learn more about BedandBreakfast.com, to get more of the information about what we're doing here and at RezOvation as well. And if there's anything that we can do to help go through the process with you, we are more than happy to do. This is a small group of very dedicated folks who love this industry and choose to work within the B&B industry. So thank you for allowing us to be able to do that with you, and thank you so much for your time today.